Yeah, I think that's my intro spiel. Benefits of this map are it's obviously live. The old maps were static, and we contracted with a map person that would make them all on like Illustrator by hand. So this new tool lets us update things much more quickly and easily as things go forward, as data in L2 changes or the service area shapes change. And I've seen many of your requests already to update your service areas, and that process is a little trickier than I would like. Just kind of going through the state library and kind of all the IDOT, Department of Transportation mapping um, um, approvals. So those will be coming. I'm working with the state library and their GIS specialists to keep our map as updated as possible. Um, all right, and with that said, let's go into what's going to look like a similar presentation, and a lot of it will be, but we're just gonna kind of go show things off. All right, so of course you can zoom into the map. Um, and as you zoom closer, you'll see labels show up. The first level shows labels for all of the service areas. And then as you go, it might not look like it, as you go deeper, the labels flip from service areas to the actual library points. Um, and that is just for ease of use, so we don't get too many labels on the map at once. But that's just for ease of use, and that might look a little funky depending on how you're filtering the map or which layers you have turned on. But just know that things turn on and off based on your depth in the map. So if you have any questions about that, let me know, of course. The next feature I always like is the search. In Wheaton has been the default just because they kind of cover a bunch of bases. But when you type in the search box, you see three categories of what Wheaton comes up as. You see the service buildings, library buildings, and that is all the dots on the map um, searching for that keyword. And then you have the public service areas, of course, is only looking at the names of the service areas, and then you get this ArcGIS World Geocoding Service, and that is just like Google Maps search or anything like that. You could type in addresses and zoom into those if you want. I think in my demo, just quickly, you just type in Peoria and it zooms into Peoria Heights, Peoria, Illinois. Click that, it'll zoom to the Peoria area, not necessarily the Peoria library. Of course, that's also in the search, but just an example of how that works. So back to Wheaton. I'm just gonna go to the service area for.
Sorry, someone was asking what was the program you used again? Did you say Illustrator?
That was the old map that I believe was used in Illustrator or something equivalent. That's just static. It's someone manually typing in and drawing the shapes by hand for the most part. This tool is called Esri ArcGIS Pro or ArcGIS Online. Um, and it's actually fairly affordable for at least Rails and libraries. I think they have decent educational um, deals if anyone else is interested. But yeah, so that's what this tool. It's kind of the industry standard for mapping tools and such. I used to use QGIS, which was an open source free version of mapping, which works, but it's more limited in terms of kind of how far you can go. You can get basic maps, but the features weren't as accessible as this. All right, thank you for that question. So back to Wheaton, you see the service area is highlighted because I clicked it and it zoomed me directly to that area. If I click on the service area, you'll get a pop-up with some core information about resource sharing, as well as this view is actually a link to the L2 page for that library that you clicked on, just for ease of access. The same goes for the points as well. So if I just pick this is now Wheaton College Library. You get different information because it's a library point. You get their address, population served, as well as an L2 link to that building's location, that building's page. I also see these resource sharing programs. I picked Wheaton because they are in all 4 of the programs that I have in the map so far: eRead, Find More, Explore More, and LinkedIn. If you click a different one like Winfield, you won't see as many. It'll only show up if they're currently active. And I'm updating that regularly as well with all the L2 information. But if you see anything that is amiss, let me know, of course. That is the core. So let's zoom. No, let's toggle. Let's go. So as you're browsing the map, you have this legend list that shows kind of what all the colors mean. Orange is swan, gray is standalone. These pink ones down here are not share, they're share points. And those will toggle on and off as you toggle the layers as well. So if I toggle off service areas, you see they disappear from the map, and they'll also disappear from the legend. So if you're ever missing anything, it's probably because of that. If you're expecting to see something on the map and it's not showing up, you're either at the wrong depth for the zoom, or you've accidentally toggled on and off these layers. Let's go back and zoom out from that home button. We'll zoom us to just the default view of the map. I'm going to look at service areas next. So I'm going to get rid of the buildings and the other service areas. These are the system service areas. I guess I don't have labels for these, but I kind of assume that the top is Rails, and people know that top is Rails, bottom is Heartland, and then the red is Chicago. And you can find that also. I found that out also by clicking on them. You can see, again, a little bit more information, number of agencies, number of buildings, approximately. And the view, instead of going to L2, now goes to each system's website. Just to have something there. I have notes that I might add more things to this pop-ups if they feel like they're useful. So again, if you have any questions or suggestions for what might be helpful in those pop-ups, all ears. And then, yeah, Chicago, same deal, 1 agency, 81 buildings, same kind of thing. And then lastly, we have counties, which I haven't had time to build out as much yet, but if you zoom in, you'll see the labels. Right now it's, oh, I turned off the pop-ups. Eventually I'll turn on the pop-ups, and we'll give information like the number of libraries in each LSAP, number of buildings, number of service areas that are in the county, things like that. But I've turned that off at the moment. So at this point, these are just the layers we have in the map. Probably going to stay this way unless the higher ups tell me otherwise. But this is kind of the core map, and we'll go into other maps for schools, community colleges, other things most likely in the future. So next we're going to dive into, the attribute table. I was going to do attribute table next. So let's go, this arrow down here, I probably will make this more easier to find in the future, but this map or this table is a list of all the kind of core data that exists in this map. Control numbers, agency names. Oop, that's not what I meant to do. Type, system, LSAP, address, and such. This will change as you filter the map, which I'll show you in just a minute, but this is all the same kind of core information that shows up in the pop-ups. When you click on a library, it's all here. You can filter this, or you remove and add different fields as you wish. If I go back here and say you don't want control number to show up, you just uncheck those, and the map and the table will adjust to only showing the fields you're interested in. You can't break anything. It only changes for your own view. It doesn't change for anyone else's view, just for reference. I think that resets the filters. Then there's this actions button that is a little hidden right here. You can set filters. There's, I think, better ways to set filters than in here, but you're welcome to do it here just by adding clauses. You can zoom to a certain feature. If you highlight it, you can zoom to it. Also, this export. Most of you, if you just want an Excel table, you would export to CSV. Some people that have GIS experience, you would export to GeoJSON, most likely, and then you could reuse these maps for yourself. Slight warning, as I mentioned before, that not all of these service areas are completely up to date, so be careful when you're pulling the mapping shapes to do your own work with, just because they're not updated and they'd have to be waited for me to update, then you would have to re-export. So just be wary with how you use that. Let's show an example of the filters. So if I just click CCS, you'll see it'll zoom into the map, but it is also filtering not only the visual, but it's filtering the table as well. So now the table, instead of showing all libraries, it only shows the 41 CCS buildings that are in the map. And that's a good point. This drop down, you can change the table to either show buildings or the service areas. So that's why it shows 41 here, because that's how many buildings are in CCS, versus if I change it to service areas, it'll go down to 32. So if you want to export the data or look at it a different way, you can do that. If you hover your cursor over any of these rows, you'll see it highlights which service area on the map you're hovering over. Useful as well as you're poking around the map. All right. So the filters are some of the most fun things I like to explore. And I'm going to kind of go through the little tips and tricks for them all now. So if you don't have anything checked, it'll zoom out to wherever you were, or just kind of the default home view. And as you saw before, you click a filter, it'll zoom in for you, hide all the other libraries that aren't included in that filter statewide. So you can see it's just CCS right now. There. If you wanted to add standalones, you just click multiple and it'll zoom back to center on everything that is visible on the map, but then you just have to zoom back in. You could see standalones around CCS, or you could compare multiple LSAPs together, and it should process and it would show all of those. So it's kind of a select any or all as you wish, and you just uncheck them. You go. Okay. So okay. Still good. Same goes for systems. Obviously, if I click Rails, it will filter out everything and just show you Rails. You might want to do that if you're looking at standalone libraries potentially, because we have those statewide, obviously. So you could just look at Rails standalone libraries and get a map of those. Or if you're looking for a table of those, that's the way. It's showing 46 service areas that are Rails standalone libraries, as well as their data. I can reset the filters with either of these two buttons. They effectively do the same thing, reset or hide filters. It'll bring me back to the map. So the next, what was I gonna do? What was my example? I think it was due page. I was gonna filter by due page county, and you see it effectively blocks out everything except for libraries in DuPage County, both SWAN and CCS, or SWAN and standalone libraries in this example. If I go back to the filters and turn on the county, you'll see it also filters out all the other counties on the map. So you kind of get that outline that Naperville kind of extends over, Bartlett extends over, a few others, just for that visual. But I like that. And of course, the table, is updating with all of that information as well. So if you need a list of libraries in your county, that's easy to get as well. You don't have to export the full list of all libraries and then do your filtering in Excel afterwards. Kind of does it for you there, which is nice. Of course, you can pick multiple counties as well. So let's add Cook County to it. Where's another in this area? Add Lake County, and you can still filter by all of this, which I like. All right, zooming back out. Next, we have the resource sharing programs. Filter this for Find More. You could choose to look at Find More libraries in Prairie Cat, for example, and it would filter out the others and just show you that, which I like. Of course, these are always updating as people add to the program, drop from the program. This is on eRead Illinois as it loads. Many libraries are in eRead Illinois. As you can see, it looks very similar to the whole map of the state, but nonetheless, we can filter by it. Next is Explore More, which has many libraries, not quite as many as eRead at the moment, but again, you can also filter on those. And then last but not least, you have Lincoln, which has their group of libraries that you can filter to as well. I've gotten questions about, where was that? I got a suggestion from the suggestion box about Carly, and I don't have Carly libraries in there, but I do have iShare. But Carly will be on the list now, even though they're very similar. Ooh, they're not going to show me. This is a great example. So I am filtering on the iShare libraries, but because I'm zoomed out too far, they're not showing up. This is a bug that I will fix, but you actually have to zoom in a little closer before the dots, the library buildings actually show up. And that's again, your troubleshooting. If nothing's showing up, check your layers to see that they're visible or invisible. If not, zoom in, zoom out until they appear. They've disappeared. So something about I set the limit at that point to get those libraries. So those are the points. But again, here's another thing. There's nothing in this table because the table is set to service areas. I don't have service areas for the iShare libraries because they're not public libraries. So I'd have to change to buildings. And then I would get the list of those libraries. Here we go. What else do I have? Also very important for me, I've gotten emails, but honestly, this suggestion box is the easiest and most straightforward way for anyone to share comment suggestions, feature requests. This goes directly to just kind of a survey that I have access to, and I'm looking at on a weekly basis at this point, seeing which service areas need updating or what feature requests people are asking for. The community college district service areas have been high on the list. So they won't be added to this map, but they will be in a map coming soon. So people can kind of get those visuals. Carly was mentioned. Lots of suggestions about their service area, public library service area is wrong or annexed this space and it's not showing, things like that. They're on the list. I'm gathering them all, I promise, and we will get those updated as soon as we can. I think that's all the big stuff. There's a few goofs about labels, about a bookmobile being labeled where the library is, and I see those, and sometimes those could be the L2 information is not up to date, or it's the other half of the time is it's my issue of I just labeled it wrong in the map, and I get to these requests as quick as I can. So just keep spamming me with all of them and I will update them, I promise. Yeah, so that's the map. I think that's all the fun features. Let's go home and see if it will update or not. or maybe I overloaded it. Let's just get a refresh. And I have two more things. You see this pop up. It'll show up until you tell it not to show up again. I keep it shown just because for all the demos, I want to show that it exists. For the about section. The other two icons I haven't showed are here. This print icon. Let's go back to let's just do Peoria real quick. Peoria Heights, sure. So we have Peoria Heights. I don't have it filtered. But if I wanted to get a PDF of the map in a way, I would do it this way. You could set a template and the landscape, portrait, different sizes, map only, different options that you can look up. I could probably add a little information about what each of those mean. But if you want a little more detailed control, you would go into this advanced feature to set current map extent, and that would be a PDF of what you're currently viewing on the map. So if you zoom out, it would show a little bit more, zoom in a little bit less. Current map scale, ooh, map extent versus map scale. What's the difference? One of those do what I just said. I forget which one is which. Otherwise, you can set the map scale, which if you just change that number, it should zoom out for me, maybe. Okay, don't do that. Do map extent.
Laura pointed out, I see the standard is A3 and A4. Those are not standard US sizes of paper.
I believe that. Esri is an international company, so they probably have this as default.
Oh, she said she sees letter and tabloid now.
Letter. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. So yeah, a few options.
Thanks.
And again, if you don't see what you're looking for, you can't quite figure out this print PDF map widget, let me know and I can help out make a custom map for you. Can add information, include the legend or not, include north, print quality, include attributes, show print area, all those kinds of extras. Again, that's in the advanced settings, which doesn't show up by default, but you just click this arrow and you have more access. Look at that. This results tab will show how many, if you've downloaded multiple maps, they'll get a running list of each time you've tried to print a map. And it's not an actual print, it'll just go to a PDF, open a PDF, and then you could print from there. So the print just would become a log of all the different things you've saved in here. So that's print. And then lastly is the share button, which you can just copy this link, short link to share. You could share it directly to social media in any way or embed the map using these icons. And include URL parameters would be if you have filters turned on in your view of the map, sharing the link would save those filters to whoever opens that link. If you uncheck this, then it would just default to the large map that you just default to. I think that's all I had on my list. Are there any other questions floating around there? Curiosities? Want me to demo something different? Show off your library? Anything and everything, let me know.
Don't be librarians.
Thanks, Grant. This is awesome. Did I hear you mention that you can export data, specifically GeoJSON?
Yes.
Can you show that again?
Yes, I can.
Because I'm not seeing it.
And because I know Matt, we're gonna go into Pinnacle and should be able to go in the attribute table, which is this little arrow that hides on the bottom, actions, export, GeoJSON. Do you see that?
I do not have an export option.
Okay. Maybe it is turned off for people who aren't me. And I will look into that.
Okay, thank you. So,
Yeah.
or if you could just send me the GeoJSON, I'd be happy with that too.
I could do that as well.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
I can see how this would be really useful for a lot of things. So if anyone wants to share maybe how they intend to use this or what this is really maybe like a problem this is solving for you, we'd love to hear about that as well. And also feel free to just put in the chat or unmute whatever you feel comfortable with. Are you going to include school districts?
Not in, so this map is tricky because of the number of layers in it. There are schools in LSAPs, so there wouldn't be too many to add. So I guess I can do that. But the real interest that I've been hearing about school districts is just having all of them overlaid with the public libraries and the community colleges and all that. So that's probably a higher priority on my list. The original map didn't have school districts; they had school buildings. But because I was just trying to copy the old or the original resource sharing map, I didn't include school districts. But that's certainly something I can add once I get into the school district mapping data at that point.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be helpful for like, cards for kids or just supplying things. Someone said, just for fun, will there be a real-time van delivery route in the future? That would be cool.
I can confidently say no time soon, for privacy reasons and data reasons, for that.
But we have been contemplating a like day in the life of a Rails delivery book. So we'll see, Yoni. Megan said it is nice to use to look up patron addresses to determine whether or not they're located in your district. Yes, hopefully this will be a big time saver for y'all in that.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Michelle shared, Wakanda will most likely have this map replace our current one that staff use to check patron addresses. We also plan to use it once we join CCS next year, so staff can become more familiar with the other libraries in the consortium. Great idea.
Yep, exactly. And again, still working on some library service area updates. But yeah, in general, I feel like that's the biggest use I've heard of the map is people Googling, or not Googling, people searching for patron addresses to see where they are. And such. That's good. And yeah.
But if y'all do have feedback or questions, we're really open to that, right? And we want to know what you all think about it. So I shared the feedback form that's on the actual map in the chat. Up here it says like feedback in the URL. And then any other questions, comments, suggestions, gossip? Just kidding.
Hey, this is Brooke from the Addison Public Library. So we have a Swiss cheese community, and so I was wondering if like there are plans or an ability to like export the addresses that are within our boundaries but unincorporated.
That is possible, but not through this map.
Okay.
So that is something I can do using the tool. So if you want to send me an email, I could help you out with that. Because
Okay.
you have a very Swiss cheesy district, as we're seeing here.
Yeah, we really do. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And someone else shared that they have used this with their friends of and their trustees to show them a bit more of the Illinois lay of the land. And I know, like for me, the other day I was explaining because we're jumping in the sky. I was saying, you know, there's kind of a group and they all have golden doodles, and then a group that all has like black labs, and then a group that all has pugs, right? But I was inspired by Pug Day for a cat, but just to explain to folks, because I think a lot of times too, or I've heard like that patrons will say, oh, I can just borrow from any library. So I think this is a really good tool to showcase to your trustees or your friends of. And we'll wrap up here if no one else has any like comments or questions. Yeah, thank y'all for joining us this afternoon. I put Grant's email in the chat and I'll put mine as well. And fill out that feedback form if you have any other questions or anything. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you, everyone.